up, traders? Zach here from the Trading Network. I hope you guys are doing well and that you are ready for another great week ahead in the markets. I have yet another weekly market profile forecast for you guys for both the ES and NQ futures markets. We are going to start off with the NQ session profile, move on over to the weekly profile, and then do the same for ES. Going to show you guys some major levels, major areas of interest that I will be looking at moving forward into the week, and discuss probably some weekly charts and maybe even look at the daily candlestick chart as well, and just give you guys an idea of some high probability trade opportunity that may present itself based on reaction to these major areas. So without any further ado, let us dive into the NQ session profile first and foremost, and I will show you guys first areas that I will be looking at, especially moving into tomorrow's regular trading hour session. You can see that we are currently trading within Friday's value, and this area that I'm going to be interested in seeing reaction to is Friday's value area high, which lines up very nicely with the overnight point of control from Thursday into Friday at 11,717. You can see the value high is at 715. Overnight POC is at 717. And if we look back into the Wednesday's regular trading hours session, you can see that the initial balance low is also at 11,721. So it's safe to say that that's going to be an important area. If we can indeed move and hold above this area, look for a move up to this 740-ish level where we have the Thursday value area high at 738. We have the Wednesday value area low at 736. So moving above value from both Friday and Thursday is going to very likely get us a move up into this 775 level. That's Thursday's high. Good confluence from the overnight POC from Wednesday into Thursday there as well. And move and hold above 775, Thursday's high, very likely gets us a retest of Friday's high. And this is also the overnight high from Thursday into Friday. So that is where I will be looking on the upside most immediately. If we do not move and hold above, or if we can't get accepted above the value high from Friday, as well as the Thursday into Friday overnight point of control, look for a move into 11,670-ish. That is a good confluent area because we have Friday's point of control and initial balance low here between 674 and 670. We have the overnight low from Thursday into Friday at 672. We've got the initial balance high from Thursday at 671. So a lot of major areas lining up there, which typically makes it a great area to target. For example, a short with the rejection of Friday's value high. This is our target, or that would be my target for a small little trade there. A lot of opportunity, and with a break below the overnight low in this 670 area, look for a move to the value area low from Friday at 630, also lining up with Thursday's point of control, 633, and a break below that likely gets us to Friday's low at 607, then Thursday's low at 543, and last but not least, the overnight low from Wednesday into Thursday at 528. That's 11,528 to be exact. So what I also wanted to point out before we move on over to the weekly profile is that we are basically operating smack dab in the middle of two naked point of controls. So from a larger perspective, I will be looking for a move to one of these naked POCs during this coming week. It's going to be very important. A break below and holding below Friday's low increases the probability significantly that we visit the downside naked POC. And on the flip side, a break and hold above Friday's high and the Thursday into Friday overnight high increases the probability significantly that we visit this naked POC at 11,993, which is from Tuesday's regular trading hour session. You can see that right here. So a lot of good opportunity. I will move this up just so you guys can see this naked point of control is from, on the downside, it's from the November 10th regular trading hours session, and we are basically trading around the middle between these two naked POCs. So I would say the reaction to Friday's high and Friday's low is going to be very important to see which direction or which naked point of control has the higher probability of getting tapped. So with that said, let's head on over into the weekly profile. You can see here that once again, we are looking to move through either above or below last week's value area. Okay, so we're at 11,706 right now, a little bit closer to the value area low from last week. And if we cannot move and hold above or remain above the value area high from last week's session, then we're very likely to revisit last week's low, and a break of last week's low likely gets us a move on a larger perspective into these lower profile levels from the weekly. So 11,497, we have 11,321, 11,255. Those are some major value areas that I would be looking at. But of course, we've got a lot of work to do first and foremost. Before we get to those levels, we have to break below last week's low at 11,543. So keep an eye. If you're going to mark off some major important recent relevant levels, look at 543. That's last week's low. 608, that's the value area low from a weekly perspective. 768, that's last week's point of control. We are pretty close to that right now, just about 60 points away. And then there's really good confluence here, once again, at this 11,870-ish area. We have the high from the weekly profile of November 7th, lining up with the value area high from last week's profile. So a move and hold above this on a larger scale gets us a move very likely to 12,060-ish. And you can see we've got naked POCs on the weekly too, a little bit closer to this upside weekly naked POC from the week of September 12th. But anything can happen. That is one thing that we always have to keep in mind. We always have to stay flexible and make sure that we're just watching reaction to these major levels first and foremost without getting too strongly biased one way or the other. So with that said, let's move on over to ES. You can see a very similar fashion here where we're operating between two naked point of controls, very, very close to trading around the value area high from Friday at 39.71. So my thought on ES is if we can move and hold above Friday's value high, we're likely to visit 39.76, 39.90, which is confluent between the overnight high from the November 16th session, as well as Friday's high at 39.91. And just above that, we have Thursday into Friday's overnight high at 39.94. So this is a very important area. We can draw a zone here basically between 39.90, 39.94, even pull it up to 39.95 because that is the overnight point of control from November 15th. And a move and hold above that area very, very likely gets us a move into this naked POC to the upside at 4,017.50, which is the point of control from the 15th. So that is the Tuesday's point of control last Tuesday on November 15th. And on the downside, a rejection from Friday's value area high at 39.71-ish. Very likely gets us a move first and foremost to the 62 level. Good confluence there between Thursday's high and Wednesday's low, almost to the tick there, lining up. And a break below that, I'm looking for a move. We got to move through that POC first, but that's really not a very substantial move there. But I would be looking for at least a 10-point move down to Friday's value low if we can't hold 39.60, and a break below that very, very likely gets us a move into this naked POC, which is lining up with Friday's low and the Thursday into Friday's overnight session or overnight low right here at 39.43. So if we are marking off some zones to look for reaction at, look for a reaction around this area. If we can move and hold above here, you guys know the deal. Very, very likely moving up to this zone to the upside here. Move and hold above that. Check out a move or look for a move to the naked POC. And same thing on the downside. Watch for price to hold this level. If it can't, look for first and foremost a move down to the 60-ish level. And if that breaks, look for a move down to this 39.40 level on a larger scale. So that pretty much does it for the session profile on ES. Let's move on over to the weekly, and I will give you guys my thoughts and send you on your way. So we are trading right at the monthly volume composite point of control. This is where the most volume has taken place for the entire month, for the last month of price action, right? That's very important to keep in mind. This is also last week's point of control. This is also the naked point of control, or it was a prior naked point of control from the September 12th session, right? So this is going to be a very important area to hold. Once again, if we can't, look for a move down into 39.43 and then last week's low at 39.13. You can see that there are several levels lining up here. We've got the high from October 24th weekly profile, the high from October 31st weekly profile, as well as the value area high from the November 7th weekly profile, all within about 5 to 6 points of each other. So that's going to be an important area. If we lose this area and we lose the low from last week, that's going to significantly increase the probability of us revisiting this downside point of control from the week of November 7th. So those are some important areas. You can see that we've also got, as far as the volume composite goes, we've got a high volume node here right around this naked point of control. We've got a high volume here right around these areas, which is the value area high from the week of October 24th, as well as that same week's point of control. So that's going to be an important area to hold. And then one more high volume node right here at last week's low, right? So last week's low, very, very important line in the sand. If we break that, further downside likely. And these highs stacking up, 4,009, the high from the November 7th regular trading hours weekly profile, very important to hold as well. And if we can use that as support, look for moves to 4,038. We've got a prior weekly low at 4060, and then I would be, inclined to say that we're likely to move through these levels into this naked point of control, especially if we can move and hold above last week's high. You can see on the volume profile that there's not a lot of volume there. There's also gaps in the weekly regular trading hours profiles as well, which indicates that there's not a lot of liquidity to hold price down. So if we do start to creep up into this area, it's likely that we get a pretty fierce reaction up into 4150. And of course, that will line up into or with the upper naked POC on the weekly on NQ as well. So with that said, let's hop on over to the candlestick charts just briefly. Let's start off with the NQ daily real quick. I want to point something out to you. I won't keep you guys for too much longer. But the reaction to this opportunity zone on the daily is going to be very important in my opinion. We could do something like come down, put in a higher low, and get a further upside reaction, or we could be seeing another rejection of the daily opportunity zone. One thing that I want to point out that's a little bit different is that we have technically put in equal lows here. We confirmed bullish divergence on the daily chart right here. And it could be argued that this is an equal low and then a higher low with this giant bar right there. That is not something that I would be trading off of, but I want to make it clear that this could be a change in behavior as long as we don't come down and violate these prior lows, right? So we could come back down pretty much 900 points, as crazy as that sounds, and still on a macro scale be changing behavior. We have broken this trend line to the upside, and we are operating above it. We are operating above the opportunity zone, and you can see for the first time in quite some time, we've broken above the op zone and now using the 50 EMA as support, at least for the time being. Very, very similar situation, except ES looks even more bullish, right? We've broken the trend line. We put in bullish divergence on the daily, confirmed there. Okay, we put in a higher low. We put in another higher low. So I would expect a retest or a rebasing off of another higher low. I don't think it's out of the question to see a bit more downside pressure, perhaps into this 3850-ish area, then rebase, put in a higher low, and continue possible trend change. Okay, so consider that. That is certainly not outside of the realm of possibility, and that is something that I will be looking at, especially on the daily. So moving on over to the weekly chart, I want to point this out as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how this week closes. We've got a doji here that if we close below, I think we're likely to see further downside pressure. And if we close above, I think we're very likely to retest at least this area, this 4,200 area, and this prior high around 4,300. So it remains to be seen how this week will play out. And we've got some substantial opportunity on either side, which is important to keep in mind. You can see that if we switch on over to the NQ weekly profile, very, very similar situation here, except we have not gotten back up into the weekly opportunity zone yet. So once again, very similar candle on NQ from last week. We've got a bit of a bearish doji, but it could go either way. A close below this, likely further downside, a close above the top of this doji, above the top of this wick at 12,126, very, very likely further upside to at least test the bottom of this probe around 12.4, 4,050-ish, and likely even the 50 EMA on the weekly chart. So that is just a little bit of, my analysis, and this is not stuff that I trade off of, but these are things that I keep in mind to have, a more cohesive idea and perspective on what we are looking at from a larger time frame. One thing that I do think that is important to point out on the weekly is that we've got the momentum oscillators curling and crossing to the upside. The volatility oscillators are curling and crossing down, which likely means a cool off in volatility from this downside pressure. Similar situation here on ES, oscillators curling and crossing, momentum oscillators curling and crossing to the upside, and we have the volatility oscillators doing the same thing to the downside. So perhaps we are due for a little bit more upside pressure. If not, and we see the weekly momentum oscillators curling over, making lower highs here, that is something that will be telling as well and will likely present good opportunity for the downside. So take it one day at a time, take it one level at a time. I hope that this is valuable information for you guys. I hope that you are marking this stuff up on your charts. I hope that you are watching reaction to these major levels, because there is immense opportunity from being patient and waiting for reaction at these market profile levels, whether they are session levels or weekly levels. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you guys have any questions or comments about these levels, about this analysis, please feel free to drop them down in the comments below. If you enjoy this content and you find value from it, please also feel free to like, subscribe, and click that bell notification to be notified every single time we post videos here on the channel. If you guys are interested in learning more about what we do here at the Trading Network, if you're curious about joining our daily live streams in our private Discord, check out thetradingnetwork.io, where you can purchase access to our most popular product, the TTN Pro Trader Bundle, which includes lifetime Discord access, the fundamentals of futures trading, as well as our proprietary indicator package. You can, of course, purchase all of those products standalone on our website as well, in addition to one-on-one mentorship with me. As always, if you guys have questions, feel free to email us at info@thetradingnetwork.io. You can shoot us a DM on Instagram as well. The.trading.network is where you will find us there. And again, if you guys are not following us on Instagram, I mentioned this in our last video, I would highly recommend it. We have a ton of customized content for our Instagram followers. We got a lot of great value in our story posts as well. So definitely check us out on IG. And with that, I will send you guys on your way. I will wish you a great trading week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers.